Good afternoon, students. I will continue our next topic. Okay, sorry for the delay for these 3 or 4 days. We'll go for the next topic of our next topic in the Python. Sequences. Okay, the sequences are the data structures which are used to combine the more than one element as a group. Okay, this is used to form a sequence of elements with a particular step difference. We can move from the one element to another element. Okay, the purpose of these sequences is whenever you want to process the any group elements or whenever you require a index which is to be incremented sequentially, then we can use the sequences. Okay, generally these sequences in the Python are used to move from the one element to another element in the strings, lists, or data dictionaries, tuples. And for these all data structures, it requires the indexes. Those indexes are sequential values. Those we can generate with the help of sequences. So this sequence is generated in the Python using range method. So using that range method, we can specify the required start value, end value, and the step value. So using that, we can move values from one value to another value with a specified step value. Okay. And next we'll move on to the first data structure of the Python. Uh, One of the first initial and standard data structure of the Python is the list. This is similar to the array in the other languages like C, C++, Java. In those languages, we'll use the arrays. Here we are using the list. Okay, it forms a group of elements as a collection, and here the group of elements can be a same type of elements or can be a different type of elements. Okay, generally in the arrays it stores only one type of elements, but here in the list it can store different data types of the elements. This is the main difference within the list and array. Okay. Okay, to create these lists, we will use the square brackets, and within the square brackets, we'll separate the elements by using the comma operator. Okay, comma separated values will give in the square brackets. Okay, this is to remember while creating a list. Okay, whenever you are using a square brackets, that is the list. Okay. Next, the example for the list is, say for example, I want to specify a data of a student. So my name of the list is the student equals to, within the square brackets, I am giving a values as 556 is a roll number, Moti is a student name, 84, 96, 84, 75, 84 are the marks of a student. So here I have two different types of values. Okay, some set of values are the numbers and one is a name is a character data. So we can specify the different types of elements as a collection. Okay, so here we cannot specify any data type name like a list we cannot use here. So whenever you are using a square brackets itself, the Python assumes that the data structure is a list. Okay, so we need to specify the square brackets first, then only we can create the data as a list. Okay. So say if I want to create a empty list, we can use the list name equals to empty square brackets without any elements or without any spaces. We can write two square brackets. Then that creates as a empty list. Okay. So empty list is say for example, I don't know the data at present, but in the meanwhile of a program, I want to add the data to the list. Then I can use the empty list. Okay. Next, accessing the values in the list. Okay. So there are the two types of a creation of a list. One is creating a list with the help of a required data. And second list is we can create a empty list and within the program we can add the elements. So now we'll see how to access the elements. Say if the list is already created and some elements are specified in the list. Now we want to access the list. So to accessing of a list, we will use the indexes of the elements in the list. Okay, so the index of the list is starts with the 0 and ends to the then count of elements. The first element is referred by 0, second element is 1, third element is 2, fourth element is 3. Like that, the seventh element is indexed with 6. Okay, so and in the same way, we have negative indexing in the list. Okay, that starts with the -1 to the starting index as the -7. Okay, there is no -0, so that the last element is treated as the -1, that is last but 1, -2 last but 2, and -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. So within our data, roll number, name, and 5 subjects marks. So roll number positive index is 0, negative index is -7. So name positive index is 1, negative index is -6. So where we'll use these negative indexes is whenever you want to get the last element of the last elements of the list, then we can use the negative indexing. If you need for starting elements of the list, then we can use the positive index. Okay. So without moving up to the last element in the list, we can use the negative indexing and we can retrieve the last element. Okay. Next, this is the simple program to access the different elements in the list. Okay. So first print student. It prints all the elements in the list. Okay. Next print student of 0. That is, it prints the 0th element of the student list. The 0th element is 556. Okay, sorry, here the result is wrong. It's giving a Moti. It's not. It's not. It is 556. Okay. Okay. Here this is the wrong. Okay, it's a 556. Okay, this we will get in the output 556. Next for student 0 to 2. Okay, for this we'll get the 0th element to 2 element. But in the sequences, whenever you are giving a starting value and ending value, it takes a sequence value R from the starting value to the end value -1. That is 2 minus 1, 1. Okay, so it takes the 0th index to the 1 index. So it gives a 556, and Moti is the name of the student. So next third print is the 2. That is, we are giving only the starting index, not any ending index. So that whenever you give like this, okay, it starts from the second element, that is the 0, 1, 2, third element, and it prints up to the last element. Next, here we are giving only last element without the starting. Then it takes the by default starting as a 0 and ending as the 3. That is 3 minus 1, 2. So it gives up to the 0, 1, 2, 2 element. That is third element. Here there is no start value and end value. It is similar to the first one, that is printing through total list. Okay, it prints a complete list of the elements. Student of -1, it takes a last element of the student. Okay, because last but 1. Next is the student of -1 to -7 and with the step value as -1. Okay, then it takes the values from last element to the first element. Okay, in the reverse order. It starts from the last element and prints one by one element up to the -7 as the negative index, and the difference of these values is -1. Okay, that is step value is -1. It decrements by -1 every time, and it prints the elements from the last to the first. Okay. Next, range function. This function is generally used to generate the range of the values. This is used generally in sequences. Okay. To generate the sequence of values, we'll use the range function. Okay, this we can also use to generate the list with a sequence of values. Say for example, I want to create a list with the 1 to 10 numbers. Then I can use the range without giving a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We can use the range function and we can specify the starting value, ending value and step value so that it generates the values from start to end, and those values we can create as a list. Okay. So the syntax of the function is it takes a 3 parameter start, end and step. Step is an optional parameter so that we can by default step is the 1. If you want to specify the different step value, we can give the step value. Example for this, range of 5, it generates a 5 numbers as a list 1 0 to 4. Range of 1 comma 5, it generates for starting value as a 1 and ending value 5 minus 1, that is 4. Range of 5 to 1, here we are giving a starting value as 5, ending value as 1, but we are not giving a step value. So by default the step value is a positive value, positive 1, so that it doesn't generate the values. So to generate the values in the reverse order, we need to give the step value also minus 1. So next example, range of 5, 1, comma minus 1. It generates the values from 5 to 2. That is end value plus 1. Okay. A range of 1 to 10 with a difference of 2. So then we'll get the odd numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Next is the 10 to 1 with a minus 2. That is it generates a 10 to 2 difference values. That is 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. Next range of minus 10 with a difference of ending with the minus 2. Then it generates the values from minus 10 to minus 3. That is minus 2 minus 1. That is minus 2 minus 1 to get the last value. So next range of minus 2 to minus 10 with a difference of minus 1. Then it generates the values from minus 2 to minus 9. These are the different types of using of a range function. Either we can generate the positive values or negative values, or we can generate in the ascending order or in the descending order, or we can give the required step value, okay, which will generate values with the specified step value. Next, we'll see how to create a list with the range function. Okay. So by default, the range function return value is the list. Okay, so that we can assign the range function value to the a name which is created as a list. So here the numbers is a name of the list equal to range of 0, comma 9. So it generates the values from 0 to 9, which is created as a list, which is by default is a list. So 0 to 8, that 0 to 8 numbers are assigned to the numbers list. So whenever you print the numbers list, it shows the values from 0 to 8 with the comma separations. Say if I want to create a list with the 2 difference values, 0 to 9 with the 2 difference, then you'll get the values as 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Now say if I want to access the list values through a for loop. Okay, then I can use the for loop as for loop is especially designed for to repeat through the data structures of the Python. Okay, it's very easy to use the for loop with the data structures compared to the while loop. So here we are accessing the elements of the numbers list. Numbers list has 5 numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now I want to access these numbers and print the values to the output screen for I in numbers. That is, here the I is a variable of type values within the list. So whenever a value is retrieved from the list, I is converted to that data type of a value. So I in numbers, numbers is a list name. So it repeats through the list from the starting index of the list to the ending index of the list. So it takes a 1 by 1 value for every iteration. It takes a 1 by 1 value into the I variable and that variable value we can use in the print statement, print I. So comma is here